If I recall correctly, the mantra to activate the tightening circlet wasn't explicitly stated in the novel, so it is essentially a secret. If someone put it on the player character, it has to be somebody who knows the mantra. Could it have been this older monkey that we see at the end of the trailer who picks up the circlet? We have another BlackMythWukong trailer, so I'm back with another breakdown and some updated theories on the story of the game. As always, I'll be exploring the elements that stood out to me from this latest drop, and as with any theories, these are just speculation. I could be totally wrong, but it's still fun to guess at these things. If you missed my last videos on BlackMythWukong covering previous trailers, backstory, lore, and theories, I'll link the playlist in the top corner and in the description box below if you want to check those out. So grab some tea, get comfy, and let's chat. The latest BlackMythWukong trailer opens with a beam of light of what looks to be a falling star. At first I didn't think too much of it, but it appears a second time, a third time, a fourth time, and then a fifth time. And then at the very end we see what it is. This is the infamous Golden Circlet that Sun Wukong wore in Journey to the West, which is the 16th century novel that the game is inspired by. Of note, throughout most of the story, the circlet is stuck fast to Wukong's head. He literally cannot take it off. But when he achieves enlightenment at the end of the novel, the circlet vanishes. And now in this trailer, we can see it's reappeared. It's clearly the main highlight of the video. It's literally glowing. So why now? I would assume it's because it's time for it to be used again. The circlet is honestly so iconic to the Monkeyking. I would say pretty much at the same level of his Ruyi Jinggu Bang, which is the iron cudgel that can change size and attack opponents according to its owner's wishes. We saw this in a previous Black Myth trailer where Wukong stops the player character from landing a finishing blow, and we've established that this is the real Monkeyking, because not only does he have the staff, but he's also wearing Wukong's infamous armor set. But I'd like to call your attention to how he is distinctly not wearing the circlet here. Again, this helps to establish the timeline. The game is set after the events of the novel, where Wukong has become a Buddha, and thus the circlet had disappeared from his head. In order to discuss the significance of the circlet's reappearance, I do need to dive into the lore a bit in order to provide some context. In Journey to the West, there are actually 3 golden circlets. It is written that Buddha gave these 3 circlets to the Bodhisattva Guanyin in order to help her subdue any beings with great power as she searched for disciples to protect a pilgrim on his journey to retrieve religious texts. The pilgrim being Tang Sanzang, the monk. The first is the tightening circlet, called Jing. Based on the design with the curls, I'm assuming this is the one we see in the Black Myth trailer, and it is the same one that Wukong wore in Journey to the West. In the novel, Sun Wukong unalives a bunch of thieves who accosted him and his master. The monk, being of a peaceful heart, did not agree with killing, so the two actually separate after this incident. During this time, Guanyin appears before the monk and gives him this tightening circlet in a hat and teaches him the mantra to activate the effect. Sun Wukong eventually comes back, notices the cap, and puts it on. Tang Sanzang then recites the mantra. The circlet tightens around Wukong's head, applying immense pain. If you guys are familiar with the anime Inuyasha, it's functionally similar to the necklace he wears. Whenever Kagome says, "Sit, boy," Inuyasha kisses the floor and can't carry on doing whatever he wanted to do. So throughout the novel, if Sun Wukong misbehaved, Tang Sanzang was able to remind him of the pain as a threat to dissuade any further misbehaviors. For some added lore, the second circlet is the prohibitive circlet called Jing. The Bodhisattva Guanyin used this one on Hei Xiong the black bear demon, who agreed to become a guardian of her personal paradise island afterwards. The third is the gold circlet called Jing. Guanyin used this one on Hong Hai'er, aka the red boy from the novel. The red boy attempted to attack her, so she threw the gold circlet at him, which split into 5 rings that wrapped around his head, wrists, and legs, thereby subduing him. He ends up becoming her disciple. So I am interested to see if the latter 2 circlets and their respective wearers will play any major role in the game. But going back to the tightening circlet, given that it's falling from the sky, perhaps it was just lying dormant in heaven somewhere, but then who threw it back down? Or did it come down on its own? And the fact that it's reappeared clearly means that its services are needed again. Because Sun Wukong represents the Buddhist concept of Xingyuan, or the monkey of the mind, which basically refers to how the human mind lacks control. It's unfettered and restless and jumps from thought to thought. So functionally, the circlet reins all of that in so that he can overcome all of his vices. And what's interesting is if we freeze frame at about 34 seconds, we can see our player character appears to be wearing this circlet. So this makes me wonder, who put it on us? If I recall correctly, the mantra to activate the tightening circlet wasn't explicitly stated in the novel, so it is essentially a secret. If someone put it on the player character, it has to be somebody who knows the mantra. So we know for sure Guan Yin knows what the mantra is, but we don't know who else knows it. So again, I'm wondering who could have put it on us. If it's not Guan Yin, could it have been this older monkey that we see at the end of the trailer who picks up the circlet? We can't know for sure at this stage, but the design of this monkey does seem very similar to the monkey we saw in the first gameplay video, where he's essentially introducing the Black Myth story. The necklace looks to be the same, but he's bald and decidedly a little grayer in the hairs, which could indicate the passage of time since he's telling us a story that has already happened. One other thing that I keep going back to is the premise of mythology. Myths are not historical records, and when we think of old stories that are passed down, we know they can take on a life of their own. They're exaggerated for effect, embellished for drama, so much so that perhaps what was once factual or the very least rooted in truth has evolved into legend and fantasy. In short, what's recorded is no longer objective truth. We've already seen this in play with previous trailers that have clearly deviated from the source material, specifically the spider cutscene video. Assuming the theory of the mama spider being one of the spider sisters from the novel is correct, Wukong killed all of the spider sisters in Journey to the West, but suddenly one is alive here? This is honestly a clever move from the devs because the game takes place after the events of the novel, so this allows them to include characters fans already know about who technically shouldn't be alive, which would certainly please a lot of fans of the original book. And now that I'm thinking about it a bit more, I kind of wonder if this is all just one big karmic cycle that we're experiencing in the game. I'm not a Buddhist, so I'm just going to do my best to summarize here. Karmic cycles are repetitive patterns in your life that mirror past traumas or mistakes. Spiritually, a karmic cycle is meant to teach you a lesson and help you overcome traumatic events. To break a karmic cycle, you have to let go of resentment, you have to forgive yourself and forgive others. In Journey to the West, the protagonists are victorious in all of their fights. They defeat their ops, overcome all the tribulations, and in the end successfully retrieve the scriptures and gain enlightenment. A largely happy ending. But after Journey to the West concludes, years later, nothing has fundamentally changed on Earth. There is still so much suffering. So if this is the case, it would make sense for us as the player character to encounter a lot of the same enemies that Wukong did. The devs have said before that Wukong is a small part of the story, and they wanted to explore all of the other characters and yaoguai or demons in the novel. So maybe we're supposed to help break the karmic cycles of the enemies that the novel claims Wukong defeated. But in Black Myth, some of them are still alive because, as this old monkey says, the story of Black Myth is not the story we know. Again, that's probably why some of those characters could potentially be alive in the game, even though they were killed off in the novel. This also reminds me of a previous trailer where we hear a voiceover giving a bunch of commandments, but everything he's saying, these are all things that are fundamentally selfish and keep you stuck in karmic cycles. This would also make sense from a more meta perspective, with all of us players being this new monkey character in a multiverse situation, trying to fix all these karmic cycles. Perhaps we're just repeating this cycle over and over again until someone is successful. At this point, I don't even know anymore. I made my first theory video about the game years ago when there was next to no information available, and now that we have more info, I low-key feel even more confused. Perhaps we'll just have to wait and see to find out when the game finally releases. As for the rest of the trailer, it's very short, so not a whole lot that we can extrapolate, but we do see some additional clips of various enemies and encounters, plus some cool new moves that the player character can execute. I'm living for this pole twirl right here. I do have to say the animations look very cool for these skills. I haven't played the game, so I'm reserving judgment on gameplay until I can get my hands on it. But I do want to stop on this band right here. I believe this is Mi Daoren's sect. Daoren means Taoist priest, but I don't know of any priests who wear creepy masks like this, so maybe they're a cult. I don't think this mask character was shown in any official Western trailers, but I did see a gameplay clip from China. I'm assuming from a demo or beta build, so the final release could be different. From what I know, the story here is people in this specific sect are ingesting some type of eggs, and these eggs can boost their stats or their power or something, but the consequence of eating the eggs is that it'll turn you into a monster, this insect looking hybrid thing. Honestly, the stuff of nightmares. It's so gross, but I do have to admit it's also kind of cool, so I'm excited for this encounter in the story. One additional point I want to make is what's been beautiful for me personally about witnessing the journey of this game so far is how much Western interest has grown for Chinese stories. As some of you may know, China was closed off from the world for a very long time and was virtually a closed economy until officially 1979. So when China did open its doors again, a lot of people likely heard about the Monkeyking in some capacity before Black Myth, but their level of familiarity or depth of knowledge of our legends and culture isn't at the same level as, say, Greek mythology, for example. And I'm definitely not putting the responsibility on this game to change all of that, and suddenly the whole world is going to be interested in Chinese mythology because of this one release, but it does feel to me personally like a matchstick that can spark that interest and respect from a more global audience to want to learn more. China's civilization has lasted thousands of years, and the history, philosophy, architecture, language, and culture is so vast and rich, and we do see elements of that in BlackMythWukong. August 20th cannot come soon enough. I'm assuming we'll get another trailer, likely during Summer Game Fest, which is taking place on June 7th. It's probably going to be a gameplay focused trailer, but I'm selfishly hoping for a story cinematic. I've said it before and I'll say it again, story is usually the most important element for me, so I really want to see more on how the devs are taking such a beloved story and reimagining it in this game. But what do you guys think? I would love to hear your theories. What are you most looking forward to in BlackMythWukong? Let me know in the comments. As always, please do give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it or learned something new. It really does help my channel as a small creator to reach a wider audience, and I would be immensely grateful if you also subscribed for more videos like this. Also, let me know if there's anything specific you'd like me to cover about the game. Are we good with these types of videos that are less edited, where I just ramble and talk? I want to know. Till the next one!